Ah, bueno, pues.
Okay. Hi, Jesse. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm great. How about you?
I'm fine. Well, let's start by presenting the topic that we are going to discuss in this chat, which is reading comprehension at the university level, more specifically at public universities. Making an emphasis on that issue because that's where students most of the time do not reach their goals by acquiring language skills as they would like to or need to, and fail on attempting to find a better job opportunities when they finish their careers. All right.
Yes.
So, what are your appreciations about this topic?
According to my experience and my knowledge, I think it is a really good topic in which, especially with Mexican students, uh, it is a necessity or lack that our students have from, I think, the main problem origins in high school. So that's why our students in university, they have many difficulties for getting concentrated and also for have the comprehension after reading any instruction. Now, imagine if we're talking about English, so it's a little bit more complicated. So I think that the role for teachers and students is not, it is more, or I consider, in order to have the to accomplish the learning and teaching process, both either students and teachers should or must, they must play each one the correct role. Teachers have to plan effectively, effective lessons plans in order to reach the lessons goal. And students, they need to be attentive, especially if we're talking in English, attentive to acquire and understand the instructions and the ideas, and especially acquire the knowledge the teacher wants to transmit with every single activity or strategy the teacher had planned before in the lesson plan. So I told you, I gave you my opinion, but let me ask you something else. And in order to continue with this topic, how important is for you the development of reading comprehension in public universities, Mexican public universities, for teaching English?
Well, I believe it's a very important issue to develop the reading comprehension in public universities. Uh, Most of all because most of the students have a lot to read and on their careers and on their areas of study. And if they are lack of this skill, they are gonna poorly develop their or acquire their competencies that they need to acquire to accomplish a course, a regular basis course in a university level. Now, it is important also for the teachers to apply the correct techniques and strategies to enhance this ability or skill, better saying, so they can, in order to achieve one goal, which is to reach an academic level of reading and writing, which is are the skills of productive and receptive. They have to first develop the skills in from an end reaching a level as a marco común, it says, right? The common European framework says, right? So I believe it's important. Yes, it's very important for them because they need to read and they need to read a lot in universities. And most of all, they need
Have you
to.
ever put in practice to try to develop?
Sorry?
Have you ever put in practice this, trying to develop that skill in your students?
As a matter of fact, I did. I have done a lot of activities which the students had to read. For example, texts that are related to their careers. But I had to say that on these classes, I was obligated to adapt the class and the level of the reading in the text and edit the text that they were about to read in the class, so they were able to make a reading which was um, suitable for the levels or the level they were in that time, right?
Do you believe that our students, it's not an interview, but it's just, do you believe that our students could be once or in one time, probably not really far away, independent readers?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
If you think that if our students with those necessities and that really low background reading profile, is could be in a future independent readers.
Could become independent readers. That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I believe that when students practice and develop the skill of reading, first in Spanish and then in the second language, which is English, they start to manage in a most comfortable way some texts that are a little bit more complex than the normal text that a student reads when they are in the first levels of English, right? But it's a process. It's not something that happens all of the sudden. The teacher and the student have to work side by side to enhance this skill, and the other one develop the intrinsic motivation to get to be an independent reader as a model of a university student, right? That's
yeah,
what I think about it.
I completely agree with you, and I also I am going to as additional information to this information you are giving me. I think that an independent student is a person, or our students, we could motivate our students or foster them those strategies and the reading skill in order for them to be able to take conclusions about the reading. They be able to find the main idea of the text. Also, in one time, I think our students will be ready for take or make a visual images to represent the content of the reading. And they also, by the time they are reading or by the time they see the text, they are going to find the supporting ideas. They are going to identify, and when they feel ready, they are going to demonstrate it by describing the story, describing and identifying every single part of the text. And by the time they could express their ideas, their opinions about the text, in my experience, I consider that student, it's an independent reader, I'm sorry.
Oh, I share that point with you.
They also gonna make, gonna do questions about the text. They're gonna answer the questions by themselves, and they are going to have their own conclusions about that.
Well, I share that same opinion with you. This is a process, and we have to work independently on this process, and also to develop the habit of reading. Because if we're going to develop the habit of reading as a process, as a behaviorist process, then we're not going to develop it just like having it in just one course of a semester or 2 semesters, whether it's at the high school level or university level. So we have to enhance on our students the habit of reading, and also to lose the fear they feel when facing texts longer than just 2 or 3 lines that they have, and also to not to skim and scan, to learn to skim and scan as skills. They have to develop those 2 skills that are very important, and also we have to do it as techniques from making questions after readings and listenings. Also, it's very important to play listening when they're reading, because at the beginning that's what makes them more comfortable and make more confident, to enhance their confidence when reading texts. All right. So in this sense, I just want to ask you, what are the most important skills they have to develop when they first start these activities and techniques of reading, when the teacher is applying them? What the students have to develop? What are the most important skills that they have to develop when learning to read in academic level?
What skills?
Yeah, for example, skimming and scanning, or which ones do you think are the most important?
Like a schema, like skimming, scanning. I think all of those are important, but those depends. Put them in practice depends. Depends the level of the reader you are. Some readers are good for skimming, others some good for scanning. It depends the information you are looking for. The strategy you apply, it will depend about the information you are looking for. So, you know, the skimming is it's about to a little bit more detail. The scanning, it's just reading really fast and just detect the main ideas, or each paragraph, or just underline each an important line in a paragraph that probably you're gonna need it in a for future. No, depends what, if you are doing an exam, if you have to understand just the text. So you're talking about academic. I know in academic we usually teach our students, and especially university students, with literary text. What do you think about literary text? Do we as a teachers have to teach the text as it is, or do we have to modify it in order to adapt it to our students' context, culture, and necessities, and interest too? Do we have to use it as is, or? Don't you listen to me?
Okay. Well, I believe that regarding the issue of adapting texts, it has to be with a lot of factors. For example, a teacher adapts a text when the reading that is about to be taught meets the level of the students that they are in that place right in that very moment. Because the teacher presented a reading that it is like too high level, it has these big words that they don't understand and never seen them before, and there is not a previous explanation about this in like a vocabulary activity or stuff, this is going to be a fail class or a fail activity, because they're not going to get the main objective, which is to gather information from that text and to answer, let's say, some several questions or underline stuff. So this is going to be a fail class for the teacher, and students are going to feel frustrated. So teacher always has to double check and adapt text and check the information in this text, so it's not going to be a problem or an issue when teaching it in front of a class. The students also have to be, the teacher has to be aware and to take care of that part where the students have to be prepared to face a text. We always have to be prepared to face a text when, and mostly in an academic level, because if we do not are prepared on the topic, on the vocabulary, on the grammar level of this text, is they're hardly going to understand what they're reading and what are the objectives of these activities. So, or most of all, they're going to lose confidence and they're not going to feel confident on how to respond questions that they're reading or they have to answer from these texts they are reading. So yes, I believe that it's very important for the teacher to always adapt texts, or at least to double check the text, so it's not going to be a problem for students when they are making an activity. So that's my appreciation from this questions you're asking. Now, regarding the let's say strategies for teaching reading at the university, there's a question that I really like to present in this discussion, which is for you and for me also. That is, do you use any reading strategy like scanning or skimming with your students while teaching a reading activity?
Yes, of course.
And if so, sorry. And if so, what would be the main purpose of this skimming and scanning activity in this text?
As you mentioned, these strategies are really good reading in order to develop the reading skill. But
Yeah.
I think it is also, it should be applied according to the student's level. Okay. I understand that you said, I am going to go a little bit back, you know, about we have to adapt the text. I disagree with you a little bit in the way of literature is literature, and it's authentic. And if we teach literature to our students, even though it is like I don't know, like Pinocchio. What is it? What is the name of Pinocchio? Storytelling or something. That's a strategy. But I don't remember the name of those Cinderella, Pinocchio, those that story, that literature. So we are going to accustom to our students to be familiarized with those words, and they are going to expand. They are going to expand their language, and also those stories speak about culture, the cultural culture and traditions, and they are going to also are going to motivate themselves because they are going to understand every time little by little. But well, it's different opinions that we have. I respect your opinion. I think it depends on the level. So the strategies that we apply as teachers should be designed according to our students' level and also our students' interest, because I won't choose a literature on my own like or taste, and my students, without covering my students' interest, so they are going to get bored in the first 10 minutes of the class. So I must know my students' interest in order to choose the correct or a good text to teach and apply the strategies. As soon as I choose a good text, my students will be interested and they will motivated in order to do every single instruction, every single strategy I apply with them. So all the strategies are correct and are good, but it depends on the class profile.
All right. I understand your concerns, and I believe you got a point there. And well, I think I can concur what you're saying. Also, it is very important to know the cultural background of the students, to know the interest, to know their context, to know how to engage them in a real and effective reading activities in the classroom, right? So that would be the
That,
most remarkable sentences we can say in this chat.
but that is a good question, because the strategies are going, or the plan is strategies are going to be the clue in order to make that our students reach or accomplish the comprehension in a reading lesson, right?
Yes,
All right, Fernando,
I believe it's
from my
true.
side, I think it's everything for this conversation. Do you have anything else to add to this conversation?
Uh, well, I'm just make a suggestion. I perhaps we could say, or we should point out that reading skills are very important for the university level when acquiring English as a second language at the universities and the public universities, and the teachers have to be involved with students in a more active role so they can develop an interest and an intrinsic motivation needed for them to develop the habit of reading when they are at those levels. Well, Jessica, thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
think this is the
Thank
end of the
you.
transmission, and it was nice to talk to you.
The same to me. Bye.